right, shalom, shalom. Praise to the Most High on this live Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? I hope everyone having a peaceful Sabbath. Today's our first live lesson. I'm Brother AGL.
Bashim Thumb family. This is Brother Mayaka.
Brother Mapaji, I shot out of the battle axe.
And say your name, man.
Oh, Yashala Yuquab.
Bashim This is Maha.
Shalom, everybody. It's Brother Trey Sean.
Shalom, it's Brother Jason.
Before we begin, we want to give the Most High all the praises, all the honor, and the glory in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. All right. So, like we said, today or tonight at even, it's the new moon. So, what is the new moon and how we can determine the new moon? But first, we gotta understand the new moon is the first of the month, and in the new moon we blow the trumpet. So let's get Psalms 81:3.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
Right, so it says to blow up the trumpet in the new moon. So in the new moon, we sound the trumpet to let everyone know that it is the new moon, it's the new month, and our solemn feast day. Because the new moon is a feast day for all Israel. All right, so from there, let's get Numbers chapter 10 and verse 1. Numbers chapter 10 and verse 1. So like we said, tonight at even, January 25th, is the start of the new moon. So once the even comes, blow up your trumpet and have a feast in the Most High.
So this is the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly, and for the journeying of the camps. And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And if they blow but with one trumpet, then the princes which are heads of the thousands of Israel shall gather themselves unto thee. When ye blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east shall go forward. When ye blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeyings. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
Right, so once it's time for the congregation to come together, we blow the trumpet, but not the alarm. Keep going.
And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy, that ye shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn feast, and in the beginnings of your month.
And in what?
And in the beginnings of your month.
So it says, and in the beginning of your months. When it's a new month, you blow the trumpet. Read on.
Ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
Right, so it's in the law that on the beginning of our months, we will blow the trumpet. We will sound the trumpet and hold a feast to the Most High, because it is a new moon, it's a new month. So we celebrate that month with feasting and sacrifice. So even still today, because we're keeping the Most High commandments, we still must keep that commandment. And keeping the new moons, the feast, the Sabbaths, and so forth. All right, so let's get Leviticus 23 and verse 23. Leviticus 23 and verse 23. Because just like the Sabbath, all the feast days is an holy day for a generation, for perpetual covenant. Leviticus 23 and verse 23.
All right, so this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
Right, you see that? In the first day of the 7th month. Now on this day, it's specifically called the Feast of Trumpets, because we blow the trumpet on the first day of the month. You see that? So read again.
And speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
And holy convocation. What is a holy convocation? It's a holy gathering. a holy feast where you come together with your people and you celebrate and you praise and worship the Most High. You see that? So a holy convocation. So we read that you blow the trumpet on the new moon, which is the first day of the month. So how do we know it's the first day of the month? Let's further break that down. Let's get 1 Samuel chapter 20. 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 8. And this also going to show you that the new moon does not dictate your Sabbath. Again, the new moon does not dictate your Sabbath. We're going to break it down with the scripture here. 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 18.
You got it, bro?
Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon.
So pause. Right here, David is about to be in hiding because at this time, King Saul's trying to kill David. So Jonathan, King Saul's son, he's telling him that tomorrow is the new moon, right? Where he got to come and sit with Saul to eat. Read on.
And thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty.
Right, his seat going to be empty because he's going to be hiding out from King Saul. Keep going.
And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself, when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone of Ezel.
So watch this. Read verse 19 again.
Verse 19. And when thou hast stayed 3 days,
It says, and when thou hast stayed 3 days, remember, the new moon is the first day of the month. Now, when he's going to stay 3 days from the new moon, remember that. He's going to stay 3 days from the first day of the month. Read on.
then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone of Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, Go, find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, Behold, the arrows are on the side of thee, take them, then come thou, for there is peace to thee, and to hurt, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. But if I say thus unto the young man, Behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever.
Right. Here's the point. Keep going.
So David hid himself in the field. And when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat.
Right. So the new moon came and David wasn't there. The king sat at meat. Read on. Verse 25.
And the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side. And David's place was empty.
Right. It was empty because he was hiding out. Read on.
Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean.
Right. So King Saul thought that David was sick or he was.
Came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month.
It says what?
And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month,
Right. The second day of the month. Read on.
that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today?
Right. So it says the second day of the month. So this is a whole different span of a 7-day period for the Sabbath. So we're showing that what? The new moon don't dictate your Sabbath. Only the months of the year. You understand? So read verse 27 again.
Verse 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today?
Remember, he was hiding out for 3 days. So on that third day is when he came out. So he wasn't there the entire time. So we're showing that also the new moon is the first day of the month and it does not dictate your Sabbaths. You understand? Give me real quick. Let's further break that down. Matthew 12. Matthew 12. Because we're going to take it to Yahweh shop. Matthew 12 and verse 1. Yeah, you got it.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 1. At the time of Jesus, went on the Sabbath day through the corn.
So the context here is that what? They on the Sabbath day. So Yahweh Shah went through the corn on the Sabbath day, right? Read on.
And to eat. But behold, do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day.
Mhm.
But he said unto them, have not read what David did
Mhm.
when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God,
Mhm.
and did eat the showbread,
Mhm.
which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests.
So Yahushua is referring to some history, right? He says that David went to the priest and ate some showbread that wasn't lawful. So what's going on right here? Let's find out. Precept upon precept, right? Hold that. 1 Samuel 21:6. 1 Samuel chapter 21, we get verse 6.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 21 and verse 6.
Matter of fact, start from verse 1. Let's get the whole thing.
Verse 1. Then came David to Nob, to Amalek. Now that's
Ahimelech.
Salagi,
Mhm.
the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone?
Mhm.
And no man with thee.
Mhm.
And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and have said unto me, let no man what is under thine hand. Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand,
Mhm.
or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand,
Mhm.
but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth woman have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out.
Right, so it says that women has been kept from him from these 3 days since they came out. So it's been 3 days that they've been high. And he coming up to the priest to get some showbread. You know?
And the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in the manner of and the bread is in the manner of common. Yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, but to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
Now, why is this so significant? Well, if you understood the office of the priest, they had to set the showbread every Sabbath. Now remember, David came out on the 3rd day. He came to the priest Ahimelech to eat showbread. He told him, we don't have common bread, but we got showbread, which was not lawful for people to eat. So it's showing that he was on the Sabbath day after the new moon, which was the 3rd day of the month. So let's go back to Matthew chapter 12 and verse 3.
All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 3.
Look at verse 2.
Come, verse 2. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day.
So the Pharisees trying to condemn him and saying that they doing something that they breaking the law of the Sabbath. They breaking the Sabbath. But what did Yahushua say?
But he said unto them, have ye not read what David did when he was hungered, and they that were with him? How he entered into the house of God and did eat the showbread.
He ate the showbread which the priest set out on the Sabbath day. You know?
Which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
You see that? It says how on the Sabbath day that the priests profane the Sabbath and are blameless. Why? Because they must do the work of the Most High in the sanctuary on the Sabbath day. So they wasn't at fault when they worked on the Sabbath. So it's showing that David was what?
Is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord, even on the Sabbath day.
That's right. So we're showing that what? Your new moons does not dictate the Sabbath day. That's a whole different process, a whole different day. You have the new moons and the Sabbaths, not new moon Sabbath days. You don't start the new moon and then start counting Sabbath 7 days after that. Because why? There's only 29 to 30 days in a month, right? So if you're trying to keep your Sabbath perpetually on a 7-day cycle, on the lunar month cycle, you're going to fall off every single time. You're going to fall off every single time. The Most High said perpetually, 6 days thou shalt work and do all that labor, but on the 7th day it's a Sabbath of rest. Not according to the new moon and the moon cycles. Okay, so we gotta understand that the new moon and the Sabbath are dictated differently. All right, so from there, let's get to Rock 43 and verse 1. So we see that we must keep the new moons perpetually and to blow up the trumpet. Now the question is, Well, what dictates the new moon? What do it look like? Is it the full moon? Is it a no moon? Is it a half moon? Because when you really examine the scriptures, it don't tell you exactly what phase the new moon is. So how do we figure that out? Well, aside from the scriptures, we got to go into some ancient history to show you how our forefathers observed the new moons and at what point they did it. So read that, Sirach 43 and verse 1.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 43, verse 1. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven, with its glorious shew. The sun, when it appeareth, declareth at its rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth the country. Who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eye.
Right, so right now it's going to the sun, right? How hot it is, how bright. It says it dimmeth the eyes. You go outside, you're like, dang, it's hot out here. It's bright. You know what I'm saying? Read the next verse.
Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily.
Talking about the sun.
He made the moon also to serve in her season,
It says he made the moon also to serve in her season, right?
for a declaration of times, and a sign of the world.
Pause. Let's go to Genesis. Let's get Genesis. Let's get that law, that creation was first instituted for a declaration of times, right? And for seasons. Genesis chapter 1, and let's get verse 4. Matter of fact, let's get not verse 4.
Let me stay right here. Sirach.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's get verse 14.
This book said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night.
So, right, the Most High made lights in the firmament to divide the day from the night. Talking about the what? The sun, the moon, and the stars. Right, read on.
And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years.
And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. So when you understand how the sun, the moon, and the constellation work, that's your whole entire world clock right there. The sun is for the hours and for the day. The sun is for the let's give it a follow to go out. We came back. Are we good? Salaki. So if you understand how these things work together, you'll understand the whole entire clock of the Most High's creation. So let's go back to Sirach 43.
Book of Sirach, chapter 43, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast.
Read that part again.
From the moon is the sign of feast.
Now that part is very important when we go into understanding the moon and its cycles. We got to break down how the moon operates so we can understand when the new moon is and when the feast starts. But that's very key. It says from the moon is the sign of feast, right? Remember that. Keep going.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection.
Right, so when she's fully perfected, she starts to decrease, or it's called what? Waning. She starts going down, right? Read on.
The moon is called after her name, increasing.
Read again, it says what?
Oh, it's like my bad.
We good.
The month is called after her name,
So the month is called after her name.
increasing wonderfully.
Is doing what?
Increasing wonderfully.
Because at that point, the moon begins to increase. You see what I'm saying? The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing. Read on.
In her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Because, no, keep going, you got it.
The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord.
So we gotta understand, the moon has a certain purpose. The phases, it all means something. Each phase means something. Each phases represent days of the month. You understand? You'll know what point of the month you're in by the moon phases and the moon cycles. So that's one thing we're gonna examine during this lesson, the new moon, understanding how the moon works so we can better understand how to keep the new moons. You understand? So it says what? The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing. So if the new moon is called after, if the month is called after the moon and it's increasing, it's already showing that what? That the full moon can't be a new moon. You understand? Because at that point, the moon begins to wane. It's already a full moon. You understand? Let's further prove that. Give me I believe it's verse 50. I mean chapter 50 and verse 6. I believe it's chapter 50.
He was as the morning star in the midst.
Moon at the full. Now, if the full moon was the new moon, it would have said as the moon at the what? At the new. But it says as the moon at the full. You see that?
That's a cut.
That's a cut, right? Check this out. Sirach 39 verse 12. Sirach chapter 39 and verse 12. Let me see this real quick.
But it's Iraq, chapter 39, verse 12. Yet have I more to say, which I have thought upon, for I am filled as the moon at the full.
It says what?
For I am filled as the moon at the full.
It says I am filled as the moon at the full. You see that? So it's showing you that the new moon is not dictated by the full moon. The moon was already there. How can the moon be new if it was already there before the full moon? It didn't pop in that appear full. You know what I'm saying? It had to grow there, so it was already there. It was already lit, so it can't be full. I mean, it can't be new when it's full. So check this out, right? We're gonna look into something. We're gonna look into something right here, cause we gotta dig this out. We gotta dig this out. How you a new page on this? Huh? New page. You gotta understand the moon phases, how it works.
Just want to leave out this completely.
No, keep that over the blue tab.
Right here. It look like something.
Fine. So we gotta examine. We need to know to dictate the new moons, and to understand what point of the month you're in. Let me see. Let's pull Salakia Israel. Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me. So let me do this. Salakia. Let's pull this real quick, right? Like I said before, the scriptures don't tell you what phase the new moon is. So like I said before, how do we know and learn about it? We gotta pull some history. We gotta examine the moon cycles and the moon phases. Because the way the moon works, the same way as the sun, right? The sun, what does it do? It rises in the what? It rises in the east, right? And it set in the west. That's the same thing with the moon. The light from the moon rises in the east, it grows and it sets in the west. It's the same cycle. It's the same exact cycle, right? Check this out. Let me read this really quick. Let me read this. As a matter of fact, so this right here is called the complete works of Philo. Philo Judaeus. Now he was an Israelite from the tribe of Levi. He was a priest. He was doing the same time as Josephus, all right? And they both understood the laws, the commandments, and how everything worked in all the culture of Israel. So we're going to see what he said about the new moon and the feast days, right? So there's a section in here that talks about the festivals.
You want me to read it for you now?
God, you can get it, God. So read that. Something right there.
All right, so this is Book of Philo Judaeus. I'm gonna start right here. It says the first matter to be considered is that of the festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are 10 festivals in number as the law sets them down.
Mm-hmm.
The first is that which anyone will perhaps be astonished to hear called a festival. This festival is every day. The second festival is the seventh day, which the Hebrews in their native language call the Sabbath.
You see that? The Sabbath. That's the first one. Because it's by what? Every perpetual 7 days, right? Keep going.
The third is that which comes after the conjunction.
It says what?
The third is that which comes after the conjunction.
Hold up, pause right there. It says the third which comes after the conjunction. Now wait a minute. What is a conjunction? Let's get that real quick. Let's look it up. Hold on, let me get it. What is a conjunction? I'm gonna read it for y'all. Bear with me, because this is very important information to understanding the moon. This is very important. All right, check this out. Let's do, let me see, something real simple. Moon conjunction, right? Okay, check this out. Matter of fact, let me do this, because this has been, bear with me, family. Let me do conjunction. This is Steve. How you go back? No, it's a lot. Let me see. Let me do this. Let me try this again. Moon phase conjunction. Read that part again, man, because that's
Oh yeah, y'all something right there.
Oh, God.
It says, the third is that which comes after the conjunction, which happens on the day of the new moon in each month. Keep going out.
Yeah, keep going.
The fourth is that of the Passover, which is called the Passover. The fifth is the first fruits of the corn, the sacred sheaf. The sixth
What's his name, bro?
is the feast of unleavened bread, after which that festival is celebrated, which is really the seventh day of 7 days. Keep going out.
Yeah, keep going. You keep reading.
The eighth is the festival of the sacred moon, or the feast of trumpets. The ninth is the fast. The 10th is the feast of tabernacles, which is the last of all the annual feasts.
So right now he's breaking down all the feast days, right? The holy ordained feast days. So he's telling you them in order. So the one we're going to examine is of course the new moon. Right, keep going.
The 10th is the feast of tabernacles, which is the last of all the annual festivals. And then so as to make. You want to go to the first one?
No, you can stop right there.
Okay.
You can stop right there. I'm trying to pull this one joint. Let me see. Because the last time I looked it up, a basic source we all use is Wikipedia, right? A basic source. You know, Jake Love putting Wikipedia for everything. Let me see. Let's do. For some reason, it's not. Okay, let me see. Well, I almost got it. Bear with me, family. Salami. Let's do conjunction. It's because it's going to tell you what a conjunction is. I should have used my phone. Wait, let me go back to seeing it.
Hey, this thumbnail is hilarious.
All right, here we go. It says hilarious. All right, here we go. So it says conjunction, right? And astronomy. We know astronomy is the study of the luminaries and how things operate, right? This is what I want. I'm gonna get right to the point. I'm just gonna read down.
Bear with us, bro. Bear with us.
Now I'm trying to find the simple version where it basically tells you that the conjunction is basically dark moon. Basically. Matter of fact, here we go right here. All praise to the Most High. Alright? So we're gonna look up dark moon. Now this is the definition of the dark moon. It says the term dark moon describes the last visible crescent of a waning moon, which is not true. It's completely dark. You can't see it. The duration of a dark moon varies between 1.5 and 3.5 days, depending on its ecliptic latitude. In current astronomical usage, the new moon occurs in the middle of this dark period when the moon and sun are in conjunction. This definition has entered popular usage so that calendars will typically enter what it used to be to a dark moon, a conjunction. All right, let me jump down. It says, however, some argue that this term should describe the moon during the period when it's not reflecting direct sunlight toward Earth. The period when no direct sunlight is reflected by the moon toward Earth lasts from 21 to 26 hours. The term new moon originally referred to the crescent phase on its first night it is visible. Whew. Let me read it again. Hold on. That's a nugget right there. That's a nugget. I'm read it again. It says referred to the crescent phase on the first night it is visible, 1 or 2 days after conjunction. Hold up, read that part again. What did fellow say about the new moon?
The third is that which comes after the conjunction, which happens on the day of the new moon in each month.
You see that? So the new moon came what? A day or two after the conjunction. A day or two after a complete dark moon. You see that? So when that first light comes back out, that's the new moon. New light equals new moon. So we see that it's not the full moon, and we see that it's not a dark moon. How can it be a new moon if it's not there? What are we looking for? What are you watching for? You can't see. It's invisible. So a new moon, new light, new moon. Now watch this. Let's get more on that because he's going to further break it down. He's going to further break this down. Remember, we're talking about the new moon and how to observe it and how to look for it. Remember, the scriptures don't say what phase the new moon is. So we got to dig into some history and understand and see how the moon works. Read that.
All right, so this is going to the third festival.
I appreciate that.
It says, following the order which we have adopted, we proceed to speak of the third festival, that of the new moon. First of all, because it is the beginning of the month.
It says what?
First of all, because it is the beginning of the month.
So the new moon is the beginning of the month, right?
And the beginning, whether of number or of time, is honorable. Secondly, because at this time there is nothing in the whole of heaven destitute of light.
It says what? Hold on. Read that part. It says, at this point of the new moon, there is nothing in the whole heaven destitute of light. What does the word destitute mean? Lacking. You see that? The word means lacking. So at the new moon, everything is given its light. The sun, the stars, and the moon. Read on.
Thirdly, because at that period, the more powerful and important body gives a portion of necessary assistance to the less important and weaker body. For at the time of the new moon, the sun begins to illuminate the moon with a light which is visible to the outward senses.
Which is what?
To the outward senses.
Which is visible. No, we can't see it.
Oh yeah. Which is visible to the outward senses.
Which is visible to the outward senses. So meaning what? On the new moon, you can see it. You can see the new moon. You see that? So we seeing that the full moon's not the new moon, the dark moon's not the new moon. But what? It's that first light that you see. You understand? And we going through the ancient text, the ancient history, they telling you this is how we look for the new moon. At this point, nothing in the whole of heaven is lacking nothing. It comes after the conjunction. You see that? That's why it's important to get to that ancient history. Dig up that ancient history, about our culture, and how we observe the laws, to put things in perspective. You understand? So read the last part again.
It says, the sun begins to illuminate the moon with a light which is visible to the outward senses. And then she displays her own beauty to the beholders. Yeah, that's all I got.
So now we're seeing what the true new moon is.
Unless you want me to read all of it.
No, that's cool. So that's how we know when to observe the new moon. That's how we know. At this point, we observe it. And at this point, on this phase, we blow the trumpet. You understand? So let's get more on this. Oh, you got a piece of bring it up. Bring it up to life.
That is Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
It says what?
He shall speak great words against the Most High.
So he, meaning Esau, once he became empowered, he's going to speak great words against the Most High and do what?
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And think to change times and laws.
He did what?
Think to change times and laws.
He thinks to change times and laws. That's exactly what he did. Oh, you know what? The day don't start at even no more. It's going to start at midnight. That makes no sense. Foolishness. The new year is not going to be when everything comes back to life. The new year is going to be in the dead of winter. We're not going to follow the new moon by the first light. It's going to be the dark moon. Esau, man. And guess what? The thing about that dark moon, it has pagan origins. Because pagans worship a dark moon to represent their wicked, evil nature they had. When there was no moon, it was dark. That's when they did their pagan rituals. Paganism.
It all goes back to something evil.
Always. Same thing with the sun. Worshiping the sun on Sunday. Let's make the Sabbath on Sunday so pagans and Christians can worship the sun together. You see that? Pagan origins, man. Pagan origins.
So people sitting back saying that this, that, and the third is harmless is not harmless when you do the research for a reason.
But I'm saying, well, I don't do it for that. It don't matter why you do it. You're doing it. Don't do it.
So read it again. Wait, finish it up.
I'm taking from the top. It's Daniel 7:25. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the time and the dividing of times.
That's right. So check this out, right? So now let's go back, because now we're looking at the phase again. So we're gonna go into new moon. I don't know if they can see it. Let me see. I don't know if they can see it. You can pull it up on Wikipedia, right? You can look into it. I don't know if y'all can see it.
It's all clear. Right
It's all
there.
clear. But it says new moon, right?
So we tried.
You trying. So it says new moon. We're gonna read what Esau says about the new moon.
Read it out.
Yeah, you can read it. Bring it up.
You want me to start now?
Read the first two paragraphs.
Start right here with this astronomy.
Yeah.
In astronomy, the new moon is the first lunar phase.
So it says in astronomy, right? Remember, they're talking about
Ecliptic longitude. At this phase, the lunar disk is not visible to the unaided eye, except when. So I don't know how to say the word. So how you say that? So
silhouette.
okay, silhouetted during a solar eclipse. Daylight outshines the earth light that dimly illuminates the new moon. The actual phase is usually a very thin crescent.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Hey, bro, where's the source at when you need it?
Right.
It's a cut like that. All right.
Look, that's real important. That's real key information. Watch this. Read it again.
It says daylight outshines the earth light that dimly illuminates the new moon. The actual phase is usually a very thin crescent.
The actual phase is usually thin crescent. Where you at?
I'm at the second joint.
God.
It's saying the original meaning of the term new moon, which is still sometimes used in non-astronomical context.
So in non-astronomical context, now it's getting to cultural observance. It's getting to cultural observance. The new moon is what?
Is the first visible crescent of the moon after conjunction with the sun.
Hold on, wait a minute. Read that part again.
Oh man.
Read that part again.
The original meaning of the term new moon, which is still sometimes used in non-astronomical context, is the first visible crescent of the moon
81-3.
after conjunction with the sun.
What did the philo say? Read that again. What did the philo say?
The third is that which comes after the conjunction, which happens on the day of the new moon in each month.
You see that? Read that. Psalms 81-3.
Book of Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, and the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel, and the law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not.
That's it. You see that? Blow up the trumpet in the new moon. When you first see that light crack, you blow the trumpet up. That's when you blow the trumpet. That lets you know the month is it's a new month. It's the first day of the new month.
And so I get, man, hey, Esau bold as hell, man, because he clearly lets you know, like, yeah, I changed.
Like, yeah, we changed it.
Do something about it. I changed it. Now what? You know what I'm saying?
Listen, it's funny. He's even telling you. He's telling you that in non-astronomical context, meaning what? Some people still, in different cultures, observe the what?
Yeah, man.
That first light.
Yeah, exactly.
The way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
He thinks to change times and laws. That's why it's important to examine and study everything. You have to go into the sources and to bring out the history. You have to. Because then at that point, it's going to bring perspective and understanding when you read the scriptures. So now we know, okay, this when the new moon is. This when the blue is. Now I understand now. You see that? Keep going, Hop.
This thin waxen crescent is briefly and faintly visible as the moon gets lower in the westerly sky after sunset.
You see that? So the thing about the new moon is it's so thin that you can only see it over the western horizon, right? Right before the sunset on the western horizon, you'll see that thin little light. And that's why in the ancient world they had what? They had they called them watches. Where they had certain
I was
men.
just about to ask you, I was just about to say, you want to bring that up?
Yeah, we're gonna bring it up. We're gonna bring it up. They had watches that would go out on high points of Israel and Jerusalem on the high mountaintops to watch for the new moon to come in. because they knew that at a certain point when it first comes out, you really can't see it. Once it's dark, you're not gonna be able to see it. It's so thin, you're not gonna see it. You understand? So they had to go out and watch for the new moon to come in on a high point, so they can blow a trumpet and declare it. And they had something called moon. You see what I'm saying? So watch this. Now let's go to Josephus. Now we're going to bring Josephus up. We're going to further break this down.
It's gonna get ugly.
We're going to further break this down.
It's gonna get ugly.
Because we have to really start to get understanding, man. We have to start examining and reading and really searching. So read that. So this is Josephus, right? This is the sequel to the history of the Jews, where he talks about the new moon. Read it right there. It says, where we at? Yeah, a person. Read that right there.
All right, this is Josephus. Says, a person who has seen the new moon but is unable to go to give evidence must be brought. If unable to walk, mounted on an ass.
Oh, read that part again. It says what?
Start from the
Yeah,
beginning.
from the top.
A person who has seen the new moon
Did what?
has seen the new moon.
A person who has seen the new moon.
You want-
Now wait a minute, time out real quick. Yo, hold on. I got a question, man. I got a question. If the full moon was new moon, why did they need a watch to go out and look for it? Why do you need that? It's right. You can see it's right there.
Look, you dropped the mic on that.
Man, I had you, man. I had you. Go ahead, read that.
Come take it from the top again. A person who has seen the new moon but is unable to go to give evidence must be bought if unable to walk, mounted on an ass, or even in a bed. Persons afraid of being waylaid by robbers may take sticks with them, and if they have a long way to go, it will be lawful for them to provide for themselves and to carry their food. Whenever witnesses must be a day and a night on the road, it will be lawful to profane the Sabbath.
What I'm talking about is that those that seen the new moon, they had to go give it a report to verify it. You know.
To give their evidence as the appearance of the new moon. For thus it is written, these are the feasts of the Lord, the holy convocation, which ye shall proclaim in their appointed seasons. If a witness,
They be quoting Psalms 81. You know.
if a witness was unknown, others were sent with him to testify concerning his character. Formerly, evidence as to the appearance of the new moon was received from anyone. But when the heretics was well known. Formerly, fires were lighted on the tops of the mountains to announce the appearance of the new moon.
Read that part again.
Formerly, fires were lighted on the tops of mountains to announce the appearance of the new moon.
And at that time, they called it watchfires to announce the new moon. Keep going.
But when the Samaritans led the nation into error, it was ordained that the messengers should be sent out. In what manner were these mountain fires lighted? They brought long staves of cedar wood, canes and sticks or branches of the olive tree, also the coarse threads or refuse of flax, which were tied on the top of them with twine. With these they went to the top of the mountain and lighted them, and kept waving them to and fro, upward and downward, till they could perceive the same repeated by another person on the next mountain.
Because you got to remember, they were spread out far. So you had one person here on this mountain, somebody over here, probably 2 miles down, somebody over there for 4 miles down. So they had to signal it pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know?
And thus on the third mountain, and whence did these mountains fires commence? From the Mount of Olives to Saraba, from Sataba to Graphanah, from Graphanah to Havaran, from Havaran to Beth Baltin. They did not cease to wave the flaming brands at Beth Baltin to and fro, upward and downward, until the whole country of the captivity appeared like a blazing fire. There was a large court in Jerusalem where they were examined by the Beth Den. Great feasts or treats were made for them there.
Remember, this is Israelite history right now. This is spirit history. This is what they did when they seen the new moon. You know what I'm saying? It's why it's important to read these ancient Israelites. They understood exactly what happened during these times and how we kept the laws.
They're Israelites.
The Israelites, you know?
in order to induce them to come often. At first they did not stir from the place all day on the Sabbath. Till the elder Rabban Gamaliel ordained that they might go 2,000 cubits a month on every side. And not only these, but also the midwife going to give her professional assistance, and those who proceed to another place to assist the inhabitants in case of a fire, attack of enemies, inundation, or to save people from under the ruin of fallen buildings, are considered as inhabitants of that place, and may go from thence on the Sabbath to 2,000 a month cubits on every side. In what manner was the examination of the witness conducted? The first pair were always examined first.
So now it's going to tell you, once the witness
Questions were put to him. Tell us in what form you saw the moon.
it says what?
Tell us in what form you saw the moon.
So they're asking, what form have you seen it, right? You know?
Was it with her horns turned up towards the sun, or away from it?
It says the horns, right? The horns talking about the two ends. The bottom part and the top part. They the horns of the moon. You know?
To the north or to the south of the sun? What was her elevation on the horizon? Towards which side was her inclination? What was the width of her disc?
How thick it was. What's the width of the disc? If it was too thick, then that means they missed the new moon. But if it was a real thin slither, then that was the new moon.
If he said towards the sun, his evidence went for nothing. The second witness was then brought in and examined. If the evidence was found to agree, their testimony was received as valid. The remaining pairs of witnesses were then superficially examined, not because there was any necessity for their evidence, but only not to disappoint them, and also to encourage them to come another time. The chief of the tribunal then said, the feast of the new moon is Makudash, consecrated. And all the people said after him, Makudash, Makudash. Whether the new moon had been seen at the proper time or not, it was consecrated.
Consecrated.
At its proper time, it was not consecrated because it had already been consecrated in heaven.
So they had protocols when looking for a new moon. It wasn't just, oh, new moon, we all stop blowing. No, they had protocols. They had a certain order and a certain structure to make sure that they was on the right track. So they had the witnesses go out on the high mountains. When they seen it, they will set the watch fires. You know what I'm saying? Then they'll come back to the priests and the elders. They will give an account, and every witness were thoroughly examined. Now, if those witnesses lined up and it was true, then they consecrated the new moon. But if they didn't line up and if they missed it, then it wasn't. They were still consecrated, but it was already consecrated in heaven. So they would still keep the new moon even if they missed it. So they still had protocols when observing the new moon. That's how we know when to keep the new moon. You know what I'm saying? So where we at? So that's it on that?
This whole paragraph, I don't know if you need it for real.
No, we don't need that. So we showing you that what? The new moon is determined by what? That first light. That's how you know when to keep the new moon. Based off that first light. So we see that Josephus saying it. We see that fellow Judea saying it. We seeing that Esau saying it. We see that Esau saying it. And guess what? The thing about this too is a lot of times people get tripped up because they got this website called timeanddate.com. Right? Hold up. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
And it's sad because for Jake to believe it, Esau got said.
Exactly.
You don't believe
They
it,
they got this thing called timeanddate.com, right? And this caused, of course, Esau with big confusion. So if you go on timeanddate.com and you try to look on their new moon dates, they're gonna, of course, have the dark moon as the new moon. But remember, Esau told you that what the new moon was really it's the first light. So Jake will go on the this website, and they will go on where is it? It's like lunar phase where they can look up the phase of the moon and try to go based off that. But you can't always do that. Because remember, they do what? Think to change times and laws. Hey, can you try to show the camera right there? Try to show them the phase right there. Can they see that?
Without the glare, yeah.
Try to put it a little closer. Can they see it?
It's gonna glare up the closer.
Well,
I'm
basically,
pretty
right
sure
there,
they
what
can.
you're seeing is the moon phases. And what Jake would do is they'll go and use that and be like, okay, the new moon's on this day, we're gonna go by that. You can't do that. Because Esau, that's how Esau confuse you. That's how Esau mess you up. They'll tell you in non-astronomical usage that the new moon is really the first light. But then still tell you, oh, it's the dark moon. But which one is it? That's the confusion of Esau. So we got to go back thoroughly in our history. And one last thing we're going to bring out, and you know, you're not going to like it, but it's for edification. You know what I'm saying? It's for edification.
Cry loud, spare not.
Cry loud, spare not, right? So we're going to read from the book of Enoch. Now, the book of Enoch is a wide-hated book in Israel for their own vain reasons, but we're going to read about the new moon and the moon phase in the book of Enoch. And later on, we'll do a different lesson breaking that down. All right? So we're going to read chapter 73 and verse 1. Again, it's still lining up with the scriptures and with the history.
Lining up.
It's all linking up.
It's the book of Enoch, chapter 73 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her circumference.
Circumference.
I keep trying. I was about to say circumcision. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. And her chariot is which she rides, is driven by the wind. And the light is given to her in definite measure. And her rising and setting change every month. And her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, i.e. full, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes forth on the 13th morning. It's like on the 30th morning. And on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the one half of her goes forth by a seventh part, and her whole and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of her half of her light amounts to 1/7 part of the half thereof. And she sets with the sun. And when the sun rises and the moon rises with him and receives the half of one part of light, and in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, it's like it, the moon sets with the sun, and it's like it is invisible that night with the 14 parts and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun. And in her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts.
Now watch this. So it's telling you the phase of the moon, right? Now check this out. We're going to go to chapter 43. 43. Hold up, bear with me. Let me find this precept. It's in 78. 78, that's what I want. And let's get it. Read verse 3.
Okay.
Right there. Matter of fact, I'll read it. Okay. I'm gonna read it. Matter of fact, I got it. So, right, this Enoch chapter 78 and verse 3. It says, these are the two great luminaries, talking about the sun and the moon. Their circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and the sides of the circumference of both is alike, meaning they're the same sides. In the circumference of the sun, there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon. Did you read this? So like we just read this. Matter of fact, I'm talking verse 10. This is verse 10. It says, and Uriel showed me another law. When light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days, her light is accomplished in the heaven. So it takes 14 days for the light to become full, right? And when she is illuminated throughout, her light is accomplished full in the heaven. So 14 days for the moon to become full. And on the 14th day, she is perfected. Like we just read in Sirach, right? It says, she becomes full moon, exactly rises. And the moon shines, the light of the moon comes forth, There again she wanes till all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. So when there's no light in the moon, meaning the month is over. That's what it means. All right? Read it again. It says, on the side whence the light of the moon comes forth, there again she wanes till all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. And her circumference is empty, void of light. And 3 months she maketh 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplished her waning in the first period of time, and in the first portal for 177 days. And in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months of 30 days each, and for 3 months she appeared of 29 each. At 9 she appears like a man of 20 days each time, and by day she appears like the heaven. And there is nothing else in her save her light. And that's why you can't dictate the Sabbath based off the moon, because it's either 29 or 30 days in the lunar phase. So if you go based off that, your Sabbath is going to be off. Your whole Sabbath is going to be off. Then you got to restart and try to get it back on track, and then that's when you start adding. They call it what? Transition day and stuff like that. There's no transition day in the scriptures.
Scriptures, yeah.
You understand? So that's why you can't go based off the moon for your Sabbath. You understand? So remember, I'm reading one part again. Give me Sirach 43 again. Sirach 43 and verse 6. I'm reading this part again. It says during all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun during 14 days her light is accomplished in the heaven. And when she is illuminated throughout, her light is accomplished full in heaven. So 14 days, right? We said Rock 43 and 6, verse 8.
Because Sirach chapter 4, that the stars and ornament giving light and the high places of the Lord. Verse
6, come.
Verse 6. He served in her season for a declaration of time.
It says for what?
For a declaration of time.
For a declaration of times, we don't.
And a sign of the world.
And a sign of the world, right? Remember, a declaration of times, right? The moon is the time, it's appointed for the feast, right? Now remember, it's 14 days to the moon to become full. What high holy day happens on the 14th day of evening? The Passover, right? The Passover. On the 14th day of evening, starting the 15th day, it's the Passover. So when the moon is full, on the first day of the month, it's showing you that what? It's the Passover. The Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Can't get over that.
Read that part again, man. You can't get over that. Read that part again.
Verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season a declaration of time.
For a declaration, it's the Passover. A declaration of time. Read on.
And a sign of the world.
And a sign of the world. What other holy day fall on the 15th, 14th, or 15th day?
Verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast.
It says what?
From the moon is the sign of feast.
From the moon is a sign of feast. When that moon is, you can't get around that. On the 14th day, she becomes full. Passover is on the 14th day evening. What other holy day is on the 15th day or 14th day evening? Tabernacles. Tabernacles. On the 15th day, same thing. The moon is full. It's a sign of peace. Read again. Slocky. You gotta keep doing it, man.
Made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. For the moon is
The sign of feast, we don't.
a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
Right, because at that point, after the 15th day, she starts to wane until all the light is gone and the month is over. And then when that first light come back out, it's what? It's the new moon. That's why it's very important to understand how the moon phase work. It's important to understand when and how to observe the new moon. That's why you got to go into that ancient history, man. So Psalms 81:3 again, we're going to close up.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed,
In the time appointed,
on our solemn feast day.
on our solemn feast day. So tonight, January 25th at even, it's the new moon. So once again, all praise to the Most High. We hope this is very edifying for y'all, that y'all got some true understanding and a point of research. Praise the Most High in the name of Yahweh Shah. I'm Brother Adriel.
I'm Brother Mayaka.
Brother Mapox.
Brother Jason. Brother Trey.
Brother Mahar.
Brother Yashar Yaquab.
And with that, we'll say Shalom.
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 Bah, show my shit.
Let me say it live, man.